It's about that time of day again. Welcome back to Nightly Newsletter, boys and girls. Joseph James here. It's Thursday evening, August the 4th, 2016. Tomorrow is Non-Farm Friday, which means we have some incredible trading opportunities coming shortly after 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Crude oil, S&P, and gold are bullish, while the euro is bearish as we head into the overnight Asian session. I have another great newsletter in store for you tonight with plenty of reliable trading opportunities setting up tomorrow. But before we get into our charts tonight, I always want to remind you, the only place to watch the full-length version of this video is here on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry, there's a link in the description of the YouTube video. Follow that link. Come over here and join me on the blog at Sideways Markets and watch the full-length version with all the analysis on all four markets. Also, please remember, while you're here watching the newsletter video, don't forget to grab your free pass. If you're not a member here at School of Trade and you'd like a free pass, come out and join me as a guest in the trade room. Grab that free pass in the upper left-hand corner. Also, remember to join the mailing list. The mailing list, I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter is ready to go. You can also download all the charts that you see me using in tonight's video. Grab those charts below the video tonight, right where it says click here to download today's charts. And don't forget, you're going to learn more with me in 1 week on my free trial than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. Join the trial membership on the right-hand side of the blog. And as always, I'm here to help you guys out 24/7, 365. Hit me up with the live support button on the right-hand side if you have any questions along the way. Well, we've had a great first week of the month of August. Don't forget, we're counting down the weeks here now, only a few weeks away until we crack open the fall trading session, which is always anticipated to be the best time of the year for professional traders. But before we get there, though, we get a non-farm payroll Friday session coming right around the corner. The first Friday of every 1 month, as long as the first day of the month is not a Friday, is non-farm Friday. That means tomorrow, Friday, August 5th, is non-farm Friday. Now, typically on a non-farm Friday, and this goes for pretty much all the big news events that we get, we're not typically going to see a lot in the overnight session. It doesn't mean we're not going to get some movement, but put yourself in the shoes of the people who actually make these markets move. The people who are loading up on big positions, scaling in, scaling out, a lot of them have already placed their bets going into this. Remember, a lot of the analysts, they get these numbers a week and a half ahead of time. So most professional analysts, right, working for big trading firms who, of course, move these markets, they already know what they're anticipating for this number tomorrow. So bottom line is, the markets have typically priced this information in. That means in the overnight session, it's very rare that we get, unless, of course, it's something unexpected that comes out here overnight, it's quite rare that we get any reliable moves in the overnight session ahead of a big news event such as non-farm Friday, which of course is tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. So we do have some news in the overnight session. We do have some news here coming out. Actually, sorry, no, we don't. Nothing here, as you can see, coming out in the overnight session tonight. We go into tomorrow morning in Europe. Just a little bit of a peppering here of news reports coming out tomorrow morning in Europe. But again, all eyes and ears will be focused on tomorrow's non-farm payroll report at 8:30 a.m. So some small news there from Great Britain. And then, of course, we'll go into the employment situation number at 8:30 a.m. In addition to the employment number here tomorrow morning in the U.S., we're also going to hear from our good friends north of the border, right? We got some Canadian news coming out. Don't forget, a lot of Canadian news will impact crude oil futures. And of course, as of 2016, right, crude oil's shadow the S&P 500. So there definitely will be a little bit more of a trickle-down factor for the crude and the S&P. But again, I do expect most of this to be reacting to the employment number tomorrow. And then, of course, some small news there at 10 a.m. And then it looks like that's about all we have tomorrow for Friday morning. So all eyes and ears tomorrow morning on the employment number at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And real quick, an important note ahead of the strategies for tonight. We'll look at these charts here in a moment. Whenever we have major news like this, right, there are a few news events like this, FOMC announcements, non-farm payrolls, big GDP reports, right, there's a handful of these news events that definitely are market movers. I need you to promise me tomorrow that you're not going to sell into a runaway bull market or buy into a collapsing bear market. We have to wait tomorrow and see what this number comes out as. I'll do my best tonight to give you some important trend information, some reliable opportunities we'll be looking for tomorrow. But, we're going to be in our chat room tomorrow morning as of 3 a.m. with the London traders. We'll be in the trade room tomorrow morning as of 8 a.m. with all of our trade room group, our advanced members for the U.S. session. Really, all eyes and ears, though, are going to be pinned on that 8:30 announcement. I'm going to give it a few minutes after the news comes out. In my experience, for this number, the 10 minutes following that number is either going to be extremely fast or extremely slow. Remember, most analysts, and the analysts are the ones that work for big corporations, big trading firms, and of course those trading firms are the ones that really move these markets for us, right? Those analysts have already known about this number for over a week now, right? They get a heads up on Wednesday from the ADP employment report. So the bottom line is, if the number comes out tomorrow just as expected, then we typically see the market kind of slow down, get a little bit sluggish, and then continue on its merry way. If the number comes out outside of expectations, in other words, if there's a surprise number tomorrow, and again, I'm not going to worry about what the number is. That really has no meaning to me. All I know is tomorrow is after the news comes out, it's either going to be real slow because the number's already been priced in, or it'll be violent, and the number kind of surprises analysts, surprises traders, and of course you'll see the gamblers enter the market and try to catch that big whipsaw. I do not recommend trying to jump on that wild animal and ride it, because remember, although it looks easy enough, the liquidity, right? The volume increases, but the volatility increases exponentially compared to that volume, which means liquidity is always a concern. So my recommendation is be careful in the overnight session, just because, again, liquidity is going to be difficult. We're probably not going to see very many big moves ahead of that number tomorrow. And then after the number comes out, just be patient. It usually will either go too slowly or sometimes it goes really quickly. Either way, just give it a few moments, let it figure out what it wants to do. I'll be here with you guys tomorrow in the trade room, right, for all of our students, so we'll help navigate it with you. But if you won't be with me tomorrow, though, just be careful, all right? Tomorrow is a very, very big news day for all traders, really. It is a long-lasting impact on very much so the rest of the year, right? This employment number will be coming out, and it will be very important for most traders. So be careful tomorrow. I'm going to do my best tonight to give you some levels to work with. But again, I'm very much tomorrow at the mercy of whatever the news comes out as. So just promise me you're not going to gamble away all of your hard-earned capital, right? There's always going to be another opportunity, right? So don't worry about trying to be the first one into the big break higher or lower tomorrow after the news comes out. Be patient. Don't gamble. Do not buy into a bear market. Do not sell into a bull market, right? Just follow the principles that we teach here at School of Trade. All right, guys? Now let's get to business. Crude oil is bullish, trading at the highs of a channel and inside a range this evening. Buyers are in control and will be looking for a successful breakout pullback to new highs or seller failures after a pullback. Sellers need to wait for confirmation, so they will be looking to hold a pullback below the range and then looking for a move down to the lows of that channel, where we can assume more buyers will be scaling in to long-term positions to go up from there. As you can see right now, we have that bull channel, which is really ultimately pending right now. Line up the highs, connect down to the lows. And of course, this is where we know that large buyers will be waiting down in this area, right? That is going to be some of the most important information if we do get a deep pullback tomorrow. And again, I really have it's a very difficult job for me to predict tomorrow because of this big news that we have pending on the schedule tomorrow morning. So if we do get that deep pullback, though, this is where we know that long-term buyers will be looking to scale into it. And we have to assume that as this price comes pulling back, if it pulls back tomorrow, we assume that all of these support areas, 41.52, 41.41, I've really got my eye on that 41.41 area because it's an untested reversal line. And then, of course, also down here at 41.14 inside the battle zone, and, of course, at the low of this channel. We have to assume the big players in the market tomorrow will be scaling in as this price comes down, buying here, buying more, buying more, buying more, knowing that the odds are in their favor to get that move back up to those highs, right? So buying the low of that bull channel. We also want to keep an eye too, if this does spike higher here, there's going to be a resistance level overhead. So watch out for that resistance at the high of that bull channel. Now, spike and rain, also a very important clue here this evening. We see the day end with a spike up, and this really could be a spike and wedge, a spike and triangle. I think you really could call this really a spike and triangle or a spike and range. I've got it marked up as a spike and range. I think the range works better. I think it fits better. And with that range, of course, we have a range expansion below us at 41.52. That support, a range expansion above us at 42.19. Be aware of that as the price pulls back, right? And of course, as the price spikes higher. This is always a great opportunity here with a strong move higher, and we saw a great example of it yesterday, right? Last night's newsletter, going to today's session, where we saw a breakdown, seller failure, right? And then right back up again. So look for that. Look for that move lower. The reversal lines, keep an eye out for those reversal lines tomorrow. 41.41, 41.14. Boy, that's kind of a coincidence there, isn't it, right? A little play on with the numbers there. But those are two untested reversal lines, and they do come at really important areas that I want to be watching for tomorrow. At the same time here, we have a falling resistance trend line. That resistance trend line will be an area of interest here for buyers for a breakout pullback. It'll also get in the way of any buying opportunities on the way back up if it does pull back. So just be aware of that, right, for that falling resistance trend line if no matter which way we go here tomorrow. Targets overhead are going to be the high of that channel, the range expansion, but really right now you got to be looking at that double up target there at 42.39, at least until we know more tomorrow. Buyers are looking for either a breakout pullback above the range. Again, be careful not to buy that break into the high of that channel, right? So get to it quick. Really, though, the most reliable trades, though, for the buyers are going to come with a move lower. Sellers will try to sell it, right? Trap low, seller failure to buy the low. Just be careful, though, of this falling resistance trend line. If it gets stuck down here, right, of course, if this thing comes down and we get stuck down here, right, just be aware you want to get above it and use it as support, right? That will always be the easiest way if it ends up pulling back and not able to get through that resistance trend line. Another option here, of course, is for the buyers to get that deep pullback, right? Seller failure and right back up from there. Remember, as this thing pulls back, here, right? Seller failure, that will be the first opportunity, and then buying that pullback to the moving average, that will always be the most reliable opportunity there for the bulls on the way back higher, right? How about the bears? Bears have a little bit of a trouble right now. Now, obviously, this is a bull market, so everything selling right now will be a lower reliability trade until we see more information tomorrow. But, of course, if you want to be a bear here right now, a breakout pullback, using that resistance trend line, using that moving average, and ultimately using the low of that range, right? Again, I'm not saying it's the most reliable thing in the world, but that's where the bears will be looking. Just heads up, though, because we have to assume there's going to be buyers looking to buy down to the 41.41 and more buyers coming down here. So really, if you're going to be a bear right now, you better get to it quick because you want to get to it before it gets into that range, and then again, maybe again there, right below that 41.41, right? It's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight. Again, I would much rather get in earlier than later if I'm a bear, but again, I don't want to sell the low of that bull range, right? So get below it, hold below it, and go, and then make sure you wear a helmet if you're trying to hold that thing into the non-farm payroll report tomorrow. Got a pretty good plan there for crude. We'll see how this news comes out tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Again, we'll be there with you guys tomorrow morning live in real time and do it with all of our advanced members. How about the S&P? S&P is bullish, trading inside a range this evening with a slight bear channel. Boy, bear channel does not look very good and almost looks like the buyers are trying to pin this thing back to the highs right now. Now, here's the reality. Neither the buyers or the sellers have control at this point, with the buyers failing off the highs and the sellers struggling to get through a rising support trend line. The range appears to be what traders are using right now. The slope of the channel is just simply too flat to really be that reliable. I always look for about